Tonight we are going to be working into the shoulders. If at any point anything doesn't feel right, by all means you can do whatever feels good. So no need to do, as always, what I offer tonight. Tonight's all about you and finding what feels good. So give yourself whatever you need this evening. On that note, we are going to get started lying down as always. So find your comfortable resting position and we will meet up there. You can either have the legs extended or the feet flat on the ground, maybe even butterfly legs, anything that really feels good for you. Hands can rest by your sides, on your body. Again, just find a position that feels natural and comforting right now. Once you're in your cozy resting position, gently draw your eyes closed. And we'll take the next couple of moments to allow ourselves to arrive here and now. Take a moment or two to release anything that might be hanging over you, any sort of weighted feelings, anything maybe from the past or the future that might be on your mind. Take a moment to let it go. Release it. For the next hour in our time together, there's no need to think about these things. You have infinite amount of time outside of this space. But this space, it's for us to simply be with ourselves, to be with our bodies and our minds, and to be present. All those thinking tasks can wait till later. This time is for you. So maybe you imagine just a wave washing over you. As it retreats back towards the ocean, it takes all those things weighing on you with it. Maybe it takes a couple of ripples of waves to wash or cleanse your body of anything weighing on you. Just allow the visualization to take its own form, eventually lightening your body and your mind. And as you're here, allow the body to sink towards the ground beneath you. And allow the waves to transform to your breath. So imagine when waves rush upon you, that's your inhale, so you breathe in. And when the waves retreat back, that's your exhale, so you breathe out. Maybe you transition to solely just feeling the breath. Inhaling to bring in space, exhaling to release anything that doesn't serve you right now. Take a couple moments to just be with this visualization or simply just the feeling of the breath. Eventually transition all of your awareness to feeling the breath in the body. So feeling the inhales and exhales rush in and out. And just notice where you feel the manifestation of the breath within as you breathe. Again, allow the body to continue to relax around the breath, softening towards the ground. And allowing yourself to simply be here and now with your breath in your body, letting everything else go. If you'd like, you can deepen the breath for a couple of rounds, really oxygenating and cleansing the body from within. You can play around with it if you just want to keep your breath at a normal pace, feel free to do so. But maybe you take some moments to really fill the lungs with air on the inhales, and on the exhales, release till there's nothing left to press out. Continue to feel the breath And when the mind wants to wander to those thinking tasks, simply bring it back. If you'd like to stay resting on your back body, feeling the inhales and exhales, feel free to do so. Sometimes what we need most is simply rest. So if that's what your body's calling you to do right now, please honor it. If at any point you want to introduce different movements or come back to this posture, again, please listen to your body tonight. Give it whatever it needs most. If you'd like to begin to move, on an inhale, begin to lengthen the body, reaching the feet towards the front of your mat, hands reach up overhead towards the back of your room. Stretch your body nice and long. On an exhale, hug the knees in towards your chest, wrap your arms around the legs. Give yourself a big ol' hug. If you'd like, maybe you rock side to side. Take a couple moments here to feel the body. Keep your mind within. Notice how the neck, the shoulders, the back, and the hips feel tonight. Just let yourself feel. Let go of any sorts of judgment. Just be in your body. When you're ready, we'll make our way up to seated. So your choice, you can rock up and down the length of your mat towards seated, or just fall over towards one side and press yourself on up. I'll leave the method you take up to you, but just take your time. Move slowly, find what feels good. Once you arrive in a seated posture, we'll meet up cross-legged if that works for you. If not, legs can be extended. That's totally fine as well. Take a breath or two once you arrive, just allowing your body to neutralize as the head is now lifted above the hips. Relax the jaw, soften your face. And for our first flow, we're going to begin in this posture. To start, where you're going to introduce arm circles. So place the left hand either on the knee or on the thigh, just wherever it kind of falls naturally. On your inhale, right hand straightens by your side, then it's going to lift up in front of you, and then reach up towards the ceiling. On the exhale, you're going to reach back and down, trying to keep the shoulders square towards the front of your room. We're going to do that 2 more times, so follow your breath. Inhale, big lift forward and up. And then exhale, back down and around. Follow your breath, so sync your movements with the breath. Inhale, up. Exhale, back around and down. We're going to switch the directions now. So on your next inhale, you're going to go back and up. On the exhale, you'll come forward and then back down. So follow your own breath. 2 more rounds on this side. Inhaling to reach back and up. And bring your mind's eye towards the shoulder. Exhale, down and back. Notice how it feels. Maybe there's little pops or cracks. Just get used to and notice how it feels in the body and be with it. 1 more round. Great job. Once you finish this side, maybe you give yourself a little shake of the shoulder, and then we'll move on to the other side. So right hand places on the leg, left hand comes beside you. And on your next inhale, you're going to reach forward and up. Yeah, exhale, down and back around. Again, follow your own breath. Really try to coordinate the movement with the breath. Inhaling, exhaling. 1 more round. Again, notice how it feels to be moving into the shoulders. And then we'll switch directions. So once you get to the bottom, you'll then inhale to go back. Exhale when you come down and around. So again, it's inhale, up and back. Exhale, down and around. Again, move at your own pace. 1 more time. Inhaling. And exhaling. Once you get to the bottom, again, maybe you give yourself a little shake of the shoulder, find what feels good in your body. Moving to eagle arm next. We're gonna have two options for you here. So on your next inhale, either way, bring the arms out ahead of you, so parallel to the shoulders. Option A is to give yourself a big old hug. So you'll cross the right elbow over the left and hold on to your shoulders or the upper arms. If this feels like enough for you, you're gonna stay here. If you want to move to eagle arms, same thing, you'll reach the arms out in front of you, but instead you'll cross the elbows, right arm on top of the left, and then hinge there. Maybe you press the opposite outsides of the hands together. Maybe you grasp around and press the insides, the palms together. So again, find what works in your body this evening. This is a deep stretch, so again, find what works for you. We'll pause for a couple of big breaths. As you're here, relax the shoulders down away from the ears and then press the hands towards the front of your mat. Relax your jaw. Should feel a nice stretch in the shoulder blades. Let's take one more big breath here. Breathe through the shoulders. Great job. On your exhale, gently release the arms down. Now we're gonna move towards a bind behind the body. I'll turn around so you can see me. So option A is to simply just grab somewhere on your left arm with your right hand. So if this feels like enough of a chest opener, you'll pause here. If you want to go a little bit further, maybe you wrap around with the right arm stacked on top and try to grab the opposite elbows. So again, two choices. Find what works in your body tonight. As you're here, either way, you're gonna shrug the shoulder blades towards each other, opening the chest. And try, rather than puffing up the back body to get the bind, keep the low belly pulling in. Couple big breaths, breathe towards your chest. Again, relax your jaw and shoulders are pulling backwards. Let's take two more breaths. One more, breathe deeply. Great job. Exhale, release. Same thing, other side. So inhale, arms come up. This time opposite, so the left elbow is going to be on top. Either way, you give yourself a nice hug or eagle arm. So you cross, hinge, backs of the hands press towards each other, or palms press towards each other. Find what works for you. Either way, shoulders relax down away from the ears. Lots of space around the ears. Soften your jaw. Breathe deeply. Notice what you feel along the upper back. Should feel a nice opening along the shoulder blades. Couple more big breaths, stay with what you feel. Let's take one more big breath here. Perfect, exhale, release, and then we're gonna do the opposite arm on top. So this time, left arm either grabs around the right or left arm on top as you reach towards opposite elbows. Again, I leave up to you where you go with this. Wherever you go, try to resist puffing up the chest, but keep the rib cage pulling down towards the hip points. Crown of the head lifts up, and then shoulders shrug towards each other along the midline, the spine. Breathe deeply here, just gently opening the chest. Breathe to the heart center, and again, just let your mind melt to the body and be with what you feel. Couple more big rounds of breath. Whenever your next exhale arises, allow yourself to lower the arms back down towards the legs. If you need to give yourself a little shake of the shoulders, if you need to kind of move one way or the other, feel free to do so to just kind of reset. Maybe you take a couple breaths simply in a nice seated posture. Again, find what works for you. That's all we're gonna do for our first flow. So I want to encourage you throughout this flow to take deep breaths and move slowly and consciously. So we're not doing too many stretches, but make sure that they're conscious movements and you really stay with the mind's eye in the shoulders. So just as a recap real quick, if you choose to do this again, we started with those big shoulder circles. We did 3, and you can do as many as you'd like in one direction, and then we reversed towards the other direction. Following the inhales to lift and exhales to lower either motion when we did that on each side, okay? From there, we went to either the hug or eagle arms with one arm on the top, and then went to either the reach across to the opposite arm or grab opposite elbows on each side too. And again, when we grab the back, we're really opening the chest. And when we came forward, we're really opening that space along the insides of the shoulder blades. So it was the arm circles in each direction on each side, and then eagle or arms or hug
to that grasping behind with opposite elbows and opposite arms on top on each variation. So take some time, explore that, move slowly with your breath. If you want to do something completely different, again, this time is for you. So listen to your body, give yourself what you need, and I will be here with you. And wherever you're at right now, allow your awareness to continue to come back towards an inward gaze. So every time there's an external distraction, possibly in your home, whether it's a noise, someone talking, whatever it is, keep coming back. Keep coming back. Notice when you become aware of your mind, and then come back. Similarly with thinking tasks, when the mind begins to talk, when we begin to go down trains of thoughts or put images in our mind, once you become aware, simply come back. This is a practice of presence. We're practicing being present. Again, the key word is practice. It takes time, just like building a muscle. It takes working out over and over and over again to get stronger. When we show up, just like we are here together tonight, we practice presence. When we become aware of the mind doing whatever it chooses to do, we become aware and come back. We return to the present moment. And when we continue to practice that over and over and over again, maybe it becomes a little bit easier over time. Maybe it becomes a little bit easier to bring our awareness back within rather than being hooked into a train of thoughts and being taken down a roller coaster of all sorts of different thinking tasks. So practice presence. We're here to practice coming back to the present moment, to usher our minds back within the body to the task at hand, which is feeling the breath and feeling the muscles, the movements within. And as you practice presence, if you will, notice any of the shoulds that we put on what it should be like. When I practice, it can take hundreds, if not thousands of times that I bring my mind back, but that's okay. The goal is not to stay here and now, it's the practice of returning, the practice of coming back. So be gentle with yourselves. Resist the frustration that may arise that the mind shouldn't be thinking, that we should stay here and now. The practice isn't staying, it's returning. So no matter how many times, whether it's 100 or 1,000,000 times, we have to bring the mind back home, that's okay. That's okay. The mind thinks, we're just here to return. Continue to breathe deeply. Feel your breath. If and when you complete the flow, if that's what you're working on, take some time to just be with yourself. Allow your body to move intuitively. Maybe bring in any movement, stretches, postures that just come to your mind, that come to your awareness. Let your body move organically. Give yourself permission to be free of what your practice should look like, and just let yourself be. Maybe all your body wants to do is lay flat on the ground, and that is okay as well. Just let your body go to the shape, the posture that it wants to be in, and take time to be there, with the key word being be. We're practicing presence. Let yourself be. And as you are being, make sure you have an anchor to here and now. So the most common and useful anchor is the feeling of the breath in your body. When we feel the breath, we notice it within. And we can also in turn notice when the mind thinks. When we notice that thinking happening, whether it's linking our mind to an external distraction, whether it's going down a train of thoughts, or reminiscing about problems of the past or future, when we notice that thinking, it's very different from feeling the breath. So we become aware. In that moment, we become enlightened when we become that witness and notice that thoughts happening. And we can simply come back to feeling the breath. The breath is the anchor to here and now. Feel your breath. And when you notice that you're no longer feeling the breath, simply come back. Take the next couple moments to again be in your body, feel, wrap up any flows you're doing if you want to move on to the next one. And eventually we'll meet up. If you do want to move on to our next flow of class, we'll meet up in child's pose. So maybe you take a couple postures or so as you make your way there, but take your time. We'll eventually all meet up in a nice, easy child's pose.
And if you're making your way to child's pose, once you get there, take a couple moments to check in, to notice how you're feeling. Maybe become aware of any patterns of your thinking right now. And eventually come back to simply feeling the breath in the body. In child's pose, where do you feel your breath? For me, I feel it along my back body when I inhale and exhale. But where do you feel yours? Let yourself simply be with it. Take another big breath or two. And when your next inhale arises, look up towards the front of your mat. And as you do so, tent up your fingers and lift your arms up off the ground. On your exhale, bring your left hand down, and we're going to flip it so the palm faces up. And then as we do so, we're going to thread under. So we're going to a restorative version of thread the needle. So thread under, and then set the side of the shoulder down and side of the head down. So again, gentle version of thread the needle. Usually we come into this from tabletop, but we're just staying in child's pose here. Your choice. You can either stay with the tented fingers of that right hand, or you can allow that right arm to drape down towards the mat. Find what feels good for you. Breathe deeply, and then just like we do in tabletop version, bring your awareness to your hips. If it feels like you're shifting one hip toward the right hand side or the left hand side more than the other, try to even them out. So gently press your hips toward the left hand side so the hips stay stacked over your ankles. Take a couple big breaths here. Should get a nice stretch on the outside of that left shoulder. Relax your jaw and breathe deeply. Again, be with your breath, be in your body, let everything else go. Whenever your next inhale arises, tent up your right fingers, lift the right arm off the mat, and then gently unthread the needle there, and then place your left hand back on the ground. Both hands are going to be tented at this point. Exhale once you get here. Inhale, right hand's coming through now, and then exhale outside of the arm on the ground as you kind of reach that right hand over toward the left hand side. Shoulder comes down, side of the head, the right side of the head comes towards the mat as well. Again, your choice if you want to keep those left fingers tented or if you want to drape the hand and the arm down towards the ground. Pause for a couple moments here, and again, gently shift your hips toward the right hand side if it feels like the hips are going over towards the left a bit. Relax your jaw, breathe to the right shoulder blade. Let your body just kind of melt into the shape. Again, breathe deeply. Notice where your mind is and bring it back to your body. Bring it towards the feeling of your breath. Give yourself permission to be here and now. Again, all those pressing things that your mind wants to be thinking about, those things can wait. This time is for you to be here, to be with your breath and your body. Take another big breath or two here. On your next inhale, tent up the left fingers, lift the arm up off the ground, and then unthread, bring the right hand back down, and exhale, lower yourself back to a neutral child's pose. Take a big breath or two, inhaling and exhaling from the upper chest, the shoulder blades. Notice how you feel. On your next inhale, bring your hands to prayer hands in front of you. So keep the head towards the ground. We're just bringing the hands to prayer. And then exhale, lift the hands up off the mat. So just begin to lift them. Elbows stay down, so you're hinging from the elbows. Prayer hands are lifted, and continue to lift them. Maybe they come behind the head. Maybe they come towards the back of the neck. Find where it works for you, but we're just going to pause here for a couple moments. You'll get a nice stretch on the backs of the upper arms wherever you go. If this doesn't check out okay in your body, then just come back to a neutral child's pose. We'll pause here for a couple breaths, breathing deeply. Again, continue to breathe to the upper back, to the chest. Relax your jaw. A couple more breaths. On your next inhale, lift the prayer hands back up, and then exhale, lower the hands back down towards the mat. Take one big breath here. And then inhale, tabletop position, hands and knees. Exhale, down dog. Curl the toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Take a couple moments in downward facing dog to pedal out the feet, bend the knees. Just breathe to the backs of the legs, stretching out the legs. Notice how your body feels, and continue to keep the mind in the body. One more big breath. On your next inhale, begin to either walk or tippy-toe the feet all the way up to the hands. If you need to bend the knees to get there, feel free to do so. Once you get to the top of the mat, feet hips distance, rise up halfway. Exhale, fold to the ground. Pause here. If you just want to hang in a forward fold tonight, feel free to do so. I'm going to add an option for stretching the shoulders here as well, but again, find what works in your body. If you do want to add the shoulder stretch on your next inhale, you're going to reach the hands out behind you towards the low back, the sacrum, and then clasp the hands just over the low back. So pause here. If you just want to stay here, totally fine. Exhale. If you want to move a little further, on your inhale, you're going to reach the hands up towards the sky. That'll instantly open the chest. Maybe the hands begin to fall forward towards the front of the mat. Maybe they just continue to reach up. Now, if you're here and you're feeling the stretch mainly in the backs of the legs and it's feeling like a lot's going on, add a deep bend to the legs so you really just focus on stretching into the shoulders and possibly the chest. Crown of the head pulls down towards the ground wherever you're at. And again, just explore, find what feels good in your body here. If you're stretching into the shoulders, continue to breathe through the chest and the shoulder blades. We'll pause here for a couple more big breaths. Let's take one more full round of breath. Feel the breath in your body. If your arms are bound, gently lower them back towards the sacrum on your exhale and then release them back down towards the mat. Inhale, rise up halfway, pull the heart forward. Exhale, plant the hands, your choice. Either move through a vinyasa or just go on back to child's pose. So step those feet back, plank pose. I'll guide through the vinyasa. Lower yourself down towards the mat. Inhale, low cobra, lift the heart up. And then exhale, we'll all meet back in child's pose. So big toes touch, knees spread wide, sink the hips back towards the heels. Pause here for a couple breaths. Maybe you bring your mind's eye to the shoulders and just check in. Notice how they feel. Breathe deeply to the body. And again, let go, let go, let go. Just like we visualize those waves rushing over the body and drawing back towards the ocean. Let the breath just sweep away anything that's on the mind. You can pause here and just listen to my voice as I recap, or you can peek up at the screen, find what works for you. If you just want to continue on and do your own thing again, listen to your body and just do what feels good for you tonight. So we started this flow actually just where we are right now in child's pose. Pause here for a couple big breaths. From here we went to that more relaxed version of thread the needle. So we came on up, tented up one arm, threaded on under, and then melted back down towards the ground. So we did that on each side for a couple of rounds of breath. So the tent, and then thread through and relax down, both sides. From there we came back to child's pose with the option for stretching into the back, so the arms and shoulders. So we came to prayer hands, lifted those hands up off the mat. Maybe we paused at a certain part that felt good, or began to reach back, bringing the prayer hands behind the neck. Again, you can find what works in your body if you're going to go into this posture. Again, pause for a couple big breaths, breathing to the chest and shoulder blades, and then came back down. From there, we made our way to hands and knees, tabletop. And then we paused in downward facing dog, stretching into the backs of the legs a bit. After our downward facing dog, we came up to that forward fold, feet hips distance, and the option for a potential bind with the shoulder stretch, maybe adding a bend to the legs to release a bit of a stretch in the legs as well. From there, either vinyasa or just step it back to child's pose. And that was our flow. So again, just as a recap, because I know we kind of did a lot there, we started with that gentle thread the needle pose. From there, or we started with child's pose, and then the gentle thread the needle pose, and then from there, child's pose with a possible prayer hands behind the head, down dog, stepped on up to the forward fold with a possible clasp of the hands. Made our way back down, whichever way suited your practice tonight, to a child's pose. So child's pose, thread the needle, child's pose with prayer hands, down dog, forward fold. You can make that up if you'd like, or try to do the full thing. The goal is not the postures, so you can just get creative and do whatever you remember, or just find what works for you tonight. Wherever you go, I will be here with you, so explore your body and find what works for you this evening. Again, the goal is not to get the sequence correct. The goal is to stay connected with the body and just let yourself be here and now. Continue to breathe deeply and allow your breath to be your guide, the pace of your practice. Our sole purpose is to connect to the breath, to use that as our anchor to here and now. So find your breath before you add any movement. The twists and shapes we make in our body when we come into these yoga asanas are representative or analogous to all the different things that happen to us in our lives, the different shapes and hats that we put on and the shapes we make, or the pressure that we get in different ways in different situations. But if we can stay connected to the breath during all these different forms that our body makes here on the mat, when we go out into the world, we can stay connected a little bit more to that light within, a little bit more to our true selves. So on our mats, we practice.
We practice presence. We come back to the body and the breath, no matter the shapes that we make in our bodies. The goal is not the shape or getting the posture correct, if you will. It's finding our way back home to the space within. So again, no need to get the flow correct. There is no correct way. The best way is simply serving your body and doing what feels good for you tonight. Notice where your awareness lies. For a moment, can you stay with the entirety of an inhale, possibly even an exhale? Just give yourself that brief freedom of being fully with either part of or the full round of breath. And just notice how that refreshes the mind. Again, it's inevitable that we won't stay here, but continue to come back and feel the goodness of part of or a full round of breath. When you notice the mind wandering, come back again. Let go of judgment and any condemnation towards the self. There's no purpose in that. That's just more thinking. So come back to the breath. Let everything else go. Notice in whatever posture you're in how you can soften your body even more. Physically soften your body in areas that maybe you don't use to hold the posture you're in. For example, relaxing the gaze, the jaw, the shoulders, the hands. How can you soften further? When we soften the body, we tell the mind it's okay to relax, and the mind follows suit. So soften, soften, soften the body and allow the mind to soften as well. Notice where your mind is at. Is your mind on thinking tasks? Or are you feeling the body? Just a simple question, no right or wrong. If your mind's on thinking tasks, maybe you bring it back to feeling the breath. When your mind thinks, do you find it tempting to stay with thought, to dive deeper? Do you find matters to be pressing that have to be solved right now? Just become aware. Can you really give yourself permission to come back to the present moment? All that stuff that the mind says needs to be taken care of right now, that's not the case. You have time after your practice to address all of that and then more. Give yourself permission to be present now. Feel the breath. Let everything else go. Whenever you complete the flow, or whatever you're doing, feel free to continue to find movements that serve your body, that feel good. Again, they can be any sort of shape. Doesn't have to be a quote-unquote real yoga posture. Just whatever feels good for you. If you simply want to rest in a seated or position or laying down, feel free to do so as well. Continue to move in ways that feel good for you. Stay with the breath. Maybe you take the couple moments to wrap up your flow if you'd like to begin to move on to our final flow of class. We will eventually meet up laying down on our bellies for the last flow. So again, take your time. If there's transitions that you want to take or anything else you want to do, or if you don't want to meet up, that's totally fine. We'll eventually meet up on the belly though if you do want to join for the final flow of class. Again, listen to your body, find what works for you. If you are on your belly, you could stack the hands, place one hand on top of another, and rest the head down on the hands. And once you're on the belly, maybe you take a couple big breaths. You can even come back to that visualization we had at the beginning of class, maybe imagining that your inhales are bringing a beautiful wave across your body. Your exhales, the wave rushes down towards the feet. Inhales, bring in new space and energy, and exhales, release anything that no longer serves you. Whenever your next inhale arises, gently lift your head up off the hands and bring the hands under the shoulders. Exhale once you get there. We're going to start with some low cobras, elbows squeeze in by the sides, and on your next inhale, gently peel the heart up off the mat. On your exhale, slowly lower and down. Inhale, lift on up. Squeeze the elbows by the sides, and exhale, slowly lower. One more, then we'll hold for a couple breaths. So inhale, peel on up. Exhale, lower. And this time we'll hold. So inhale, gently peel the heart on up. Pause once you're lifted and continue to breathe. Press the tops of the feet down towards the mat. Kneecaps lift up towards the hips. Pelvis and the hips press down into the mat. Low back squeezes to keep you lifted as the elbows pull in by the sides. Let's take one more big breath here. On your exhale, slowly lower down and rest the forehead down on the mat. We'll just pause for a couple of big breaths. You can bring the hands down by the sides with the palms face up if you'd like, or just keep them where they're at right now. Breathe to the low back. Whenever your next inhale arises, gently lift the head up off the mat again, and this time, try to grasp the hands just like we did in that forward fold. So clasp the hands around the low back area. If that feels like too much, you can just simply keep the hands by the sides. Clasp here, exhale. Inhale, peel on up, just like in low cobra. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift the heart, hands reach back. Exhale, lower. Let's do one more, then we'll hold. Inhale, lift on up. Exhale, lower. Alrighty, we're going to hold this round. So inhale, peel on up. Once you're lifted, pause. Couple of big breaths. Really roll the shoulder blades onto the back body, opening up the heart space. Breathe deeply. Couple more big breaths. Tops of the toes press into the mat. One more breath. Can you lift up any higher? Exhale, slowly lower down. Again, hands can come by the sides. Maybe you rest a cheek down towards the mat this time. Take a couple big breaths. Breathe through the body. From here, we're going to have two options. So you can do anything we just did, or you can simply reach back behind you. We are possibly, if you want to, work up to bow pose. So totally up to you. If bow pose feels like too much right now, no need to go there. On your next inhale, lift the head up off the ground. So option A, you can simply reach back. Maybe you reach back with bent knees. Option B, you'll bend those knees, flex the feet, and maybe grab a hold of those ankles. Now we're working into the upper back and shoulders here, so try to resist the lift of the knees and the thighs up off the ground, but when you kick back, press those knees and thighs down towards the mat. That'll help you work into the thoracic area of the spine much more than having those knees lifted up. So you decide where you go here tonight. Breathe to the heart center. We'll pause for a couple big breaths. Breathe in deeply. Relax your jaw, and again, allow the shoulder blades to pull towards the midline on the back body, opening the heart space. One more big breath. Exhale, slowly lower, and rest the opposite cheek down on the mat. You can keep the knees bent if they are, and maybe add a little windshield wiper motion, dropping the feet side to side once the low back settles a bit. Stay with the breath and notice what you feel. Eventually, allow the feet to lower back down towards the mat and rest here. On your next inhale, lift the head up off the ground and then bring the hands under the shoulders one more time. So we're going to move into a little shoulder stretch here. Exhale, and then inhale, we're going to bring the left arm under the chest, and then the right arm you're going to bring on top of that, and then kind of crisscross the arms underneath your chest. So you might need to move them closer to you or farther up towards the front of your mat. You'll have to kind of feel it out in your own body. But eventually, once you have this crisscross, you'll just kind of let your body drape down. So it should feel a nice stretch on these shoulders once you get here. If this doesn't work in your body, that is a-okay. Just you can rest on your mat and just breathe deeply. So find what works for you here. Breathe through the upper back. Relax the eyes and jaw. One more big breath. When you're ready to come on out of this, just wiggle your way on out, and maybe you stack the palms and rest the forehead back on the ground. So that's our final flow of class. I'll recap for you. You can just listen to my voice or peek up at the screen if you do want to give that flow a try again. So to start with this flow, we started with low cobra. So hands were under the shoulders, elbows in by the sides. We did 3 inhaling and exhaling in the flow, and then we held. But your choice, you can do more or less. So then we held for a couple big breaths. From there, we did the same flow after we rested, but with the hands clasped at the low back, inhaling up, exhaling, lowering, eventually held for a couple of rounds of breath. We rested again, and then finally, maybe you just reach back, maybe you reach back with the knees bent, or maybe you work to bow pose. If you were in bow pose, you kept those knees and thighs pressing towards the mat rather than lifting them up off the ground. From there, rested for a couple breaths. And then if you do go into that stretch that we just did, when you move into the second round, do the opposite arm on top so we have the even balanced stretch on each side. So we kind of crisscross the arms and allow the head to drape down towards the mat, stretching into the upper back. So your choice if you want to move on with that flow. Again, it was the low cobras, the clasped hands, possible bow, and then the crisscross stretch. After you do that and you're done with all your back bends, then please move into some sort of child's pose or forward fold before you move into anything else, just to relieve the low back. So again, find what works for you. I will be here for you to guide the awareness, and then we'll meet up for our closing of class. Wherever you decide to go, find your way towards your breath first. So initiate that connection between the mind, the breath, the body, and then flow with your inhales and exhales. Allow your breath to guide you through the movements. Notice if you tend to clench your jaw or in general bring tension towards the face throughout these back bends. Can you soften your face and relax your jaw? Even allow the shoulders to soften down away from your ears as you flow. Really give yourself permission to be in your body and honor where you're at today. If you find that any of these postures causes strain in your breath, that you're holding your breath or breathing in a very short, panting-like nature, then you've gone too far. Find your way to the point where you can breathe deeply, where you can, again, primarily be with your breath, and then the movement. Opening the body, becoming stronger, and relaxing the muscles comes with time, with practice. So allow yourself to meet yourself where you're at today, because where you're at is exactly where you need to be. As you make your way through this final flow, can you truly, truly, truly let yourself be? Let yourself be with your breath, be in your body. Even if it's just for an inhale or even half of an inhale, can you release what may be weighing on your mind? Let yourself truly be in your practice. There's nothing else to do right now but to simply be with yourself in your body. If and when you complete the back bends, again, please move to a child's pose and or a forward fold until you feel some sort of relief in your low back. So give yourself some time to work in those counter poses to relieve the low back and breathe deeply to that area. And once you've flowed through your child's pose, your forward fold, if you did do the back bends, then we will eventually meet up laying on our back bodies. However, if there's any last postures that you wish to take before Shavasana, now's your time to do it. So add in anything that you want to do. We'll meet up for Shavasana, but if there's any last stretches that you want to get in your practice tonight, feel free to take the next couple moments to honor your body and give yourself whatever you need. Again, you took this time for you, so give your body what it needs before Shavasana. If you are still flowing, please take all the time you need. Honor your body and your practice and move accordingly. If you've made your way to laying down, resting on your mat, gently draw the eyes closed when you're ready. Eventually, begin to invite in a soft and easy, a relaxed state to your mind, to your body, to the space all around you, and the space within you. Begin to relax your body even further, starting by softening the crown of your head. Relax your forehead. Soften your eyebrows. Relax the eyelids as you allow the eyeballs to sink back towards the skull. Soften your temples
and the cheekbones. Relax the jaw. Allow the lips to soften. They may even part, and that's okay. Relax the teeth and gently float the tongue down away from the roof of your mouth. Soften your ears. Relax the back of your head, allowing it to weigh heavy towards the ground beneath you. And soften your scalp. Melt the shoulder blades down towards the ground beneath you, allowing the chest to open. Relax the upper arms and the elbows. Soften the lower arms and the wrists. Relax the back of your hands. Soften the palms and allow the fingers to naturally curl inwards. Soften the chest, the space around your heart. Relax your rib cage and soften the belly. Relax the upper back, the middle of the back, and the lower back, softening the spine and every vertebra. Soften the hips, the glutes, the pelvic area. As you relax the upper legs and the knees, soften the lower legs and the ankles. Relax the tops of your feet. Soften the heels, the arches, the balls of the toes, and allow every toe to get a little bit lighter. Notice if you're holding on anywhere else in your body and simply let it go. Allow the body to fall heavy towards the ground beneath you, yet also feel a sense of weightlessness within and around you. Allow the state of peace and ease to translate to your mind, imagining as though the mind is a muscle, letting it melt and fade away. For the next couple of moments, allow yourself to simply be in this state, to continue to drift off, and allow the natural wave of the breath to ripple in and out of the body, filling you with space and washing away anything that no longer serves you. Gently begin to invite the awareness back in towards your body. Maybe you begin to introduce small movements to the toes, the fingers, the wrists and ankles. Take your time. Only when you feel ready to move, gently roll over to either side and pause there, resting in a fetal position. Eventually make your way all the way up to seated, moving slowly, keeping the eyes softly closed as you transition. We'll meet with the eyes closed and palms touching at heart center. Take a couple moments to consciously realize how you feel right now. Draw your awareness to the mind, the head space. Observe, notice how it feels. What word describes the quality, the state of your mind right now? Gently draw your awareness towards your body and notice how it feels. What word describes your body? Eventually tune into your emotional well-being. What emotion do you feel in this moment? And just notice, observe, let it be. We're simply here to become aware. Give yourself a big smile and truly thank yourself for showing up here this evening, for dedicating your time to your practice, your health, and your life. And thank you so very much for sharing your beautiful practice and energy with me and everybody else who joined in here this evening. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.